She served coffee at the briefing until the Admiral said his call sign and everyone froze. The air conditioning in the briefing room is too strong, as always. Even in my full uniform, I feel a shiver run down my spine as I hold the tray with the coffee mugs. That's how I became invisible in this place. Serving coffee, harmless, discreet, just another woman doing support work in a world dominated by high-ranking men. My name is Riley Cooper, 27 years old, supposedly an administrative assistant at the San Diego Naval Base, supposedly because my real role is something few people know. Nobody gives the coffee girl a second glance, which makes her perfect for observing who talks too much, who withholds information, who could be a risk to national security. Today's briefing is more tense than usual. A joint operation with the Navy, Air Force, and Marines to intercept a weapons shipment in the South China Sea. Information is compartmentalized. Each unit knows only what it needs to execute. It's standard procedure to avoid leaks. Rear Admiral Donovan is leading the meeting. He's a serious man in his 50s, with neatly trimmed gray hair and eyes that have seen more battles than he cares to admit. He's never spoken directly to me before. To him, I'm just part of the furniture, the person who keeps the mugs full. Gentlemen, this operation leaves no room for error, says Donovan, as a digital map of the South China Sea is projected onto the main screen. If these weapons reach their destination, we're talking about missiles capable of striking our allies in the region. We cannot allow that. I move silently around the room, filling mugs. The officers barely thanked me, engrossed in the brief. Years ago, this bothered me. Now I understand it's better this way. Invisibility is a superpower when you do what I do. The Navy will position the USS Roosevelt here, Donovan pointing to a spot on the map. The Marines will be prepared for boarding if necessary. The Air Force will provide air cover and reconnaissance. I'm serving coffee to Commander Perez when Colonel Jensen of the Air Force interrupts. With all due respect, Admiral, this approach leaves us vulnerable. We suggest an alternative formation. Colonel, this formation was approved by the Pentagon, Donovan replied, irritation evident in his voice. We don't have time for debate. I'm not debating, sir. I'm pointing out a security flaw. Jensen insists. If the target vessel has undocumented anti-aircraft capabilities, our pilots will be at unnecessary risk. The tension in the room rises. I continue my routine, serving coffee, avoiding prolonged eye contact. This is the most delicate part of my job, being present without being noticed, absorbing information without showing interest. When I get to General Harrison of the Marines, he glances at me briefly and says, "No sugar this time." That's the most personal attention I get in those briefings. The Pentagon trusts our intelligence assessment, Donovan says to Colonel Jensen, his voice firm. Intelligence based on incomplete information, Jensen retorted. Our sources in the region lost contact 3 days ago. We're practically blind. This makes me hesitate for a split second as I pour coffee for the next officer. No one noticed, except perhaps Captain Mercer of the Navy, who casts me a curious glance. I force a neutral smile and continue my circuit of the room. The argument intensifies. Voices rise. Admiral. Donovan tries to regain control. Gentlemen, this operation was planned based on the best information available, he declares, tapping lightly on the table. If we had more intelligence data, I would be the first to consider it. That's when it happened. A simple phrase that would change everything. Actually, we have more recent data, says a deep, serene voice from the back door. Everyone turns around. Admiral James Sullivan, commander of the Pacific Fleet, enters the room. He was not scheduled for this briefing. The entire room stands at attention, including Donovan. Sullivan, with his 4 stars on the epaulets, gestures for everyone to take a seat. His gaze sweeps across the room and lingers momentarily on. Keep the coffee going, please, he says. We'll need it. I nod respectfully and return to my routine, though I feel a growing tension at the base of my neck. Sullivan doesn't usually show up for tactical-level operational briefings unless something extraordinarily important is happening. As I was saying, Sullivan continued, walking to the front of the room, we have more recent data on the target vessel and its cargo. Data that significantly changes the profile of this operation. He inserts a USB drive into the system, and new images appear on the screen. They are satellite photos with better resolution than the previous one, showing details of the vessel that were not visible before. As you can see, the ship is equipped with advanced defense systems, confirming Colonel Jensen's concerns, Sullivan. Furthermore, our intelligence indicates that the cargo includes not only missiles, but also components for biological weapons. A murmur runs through the room. I continue serving coffee, trying not to show that I'm absorbing every word. This raises the threat level and requires a different approach, Sullivan. We'll need a more subtle infiltration plan before any direct approach. Donovan frowned. Admiral, with all due respect, we don't have any infiltration agents available with experience in this type of operation. Sullivan smiles slightly. Actually, we do. He pauses and then says something that makes my heart stop. Phoenix. The room falls silent. Everyone looks around, confused, until they realize Sullivan is looking directly at me. I freeze with the coffee tray in my hand. Phoenix. My call sign. A name I haven't heard in over 2 years since I was assigned to this long-term mission. The mug I'm holding slides a few centimeters on the tray, making a metallic noise that echoes in the silent room. Miss Cooper, Sullivan said in a formal tone he had never used with me before. I believe your expertise would be extremely valuable in this situation. 28 pairs of eyes turned to me. Officers who had barely noticed my existence now stare at me with expressions ranging from confusion to disbelief. Captain Mercer drops his. Colonel Jensen's mouth is slightly open. Sir? Is all I can manage to say, still clutching the tray, my covering crumbling before my eyes. Sullivan turns to the room. Gentlemen, allow me to properly introduce Lieutenant Riley Cooper, Navy Special Forces, Intelligence and Infiltration Specialist. She has been on deep counterintelligence missions for the past 2 years. I can feel the shock rippling through the room. Donovan looks like he just swallowed a whole lemon. Admiral, he says slowly, this is not mentioned in any of the official reports of this operation. For good reason, John, Sullivan replied. Lieutenant Cooper's mission is classified at the highest level. Only 3 people at the Pentagon know her true role. Finally, I place the tray on the nearest table. My body automatically assumes the military posture it has been hiding for so long. Shoulders back, chin up, feet in the resting position. Report, Lieutenant, says Sullivan. Sir, I have been monitoring internal communications for 26 months. I reply, my voice taking on a commanding tone that no one in that room had ever heard from me. During that time, I have identified 3 potential security breaches and 2 attempts at unauthorized access to classified info. Sullivan nod. And what about our target vessel? I have been in communication with our assets in the region through unofficial channels, sir. I can confirm that the ship changed its crew 72 hours ago, replacing regular sailors with trained operators. I have also confirmed the presence of undocumented man-pads, anti-aircraft systems on board. Colonel Jensen looks at Donovan with a discreet, I told you so, in his eyes. Lieutenant Cooper was placed here specifically to identify potential intelligence, Sullivan explained. Her cover as an administrative employee allowed her unrestricted access to all communications and briefings without raising suspicion. This is ... double quotes, Donovan begins, clearly struggling to process the information. Irregular, to say the least. Irregular, but necessary, Sullivan replied. We had indications that sensitive information was being compromised. We needed someone who could operate completely outside the normal chain of command. General Harrison of the Marines looks at me with renewed appreciation. So while you were serving our coffee, you were evaluating our operations? Assessing, monitoring, and protecting, sir, I reply. My role has never been internal espionage, but security against external threats. A tense silence settles in the room. Years of working in deep coverage, building an identity as a harmless administrative assistant, all washed away in seconds. But I understand why Sullivan did it. The situation demands my real skills, not my coverage. Lieutenant Cooper has extensive experience in operations in the South China Sea, Sullivan continued. Prior to this mission, she led 3 successful infiltrations of suspected vessels, 2 of which resulted in significant seizures of illegal weapons. I can see their stares shifting from shock to professional interest. They're reassessing me in real time, the coffee girl transforming into an elite operative before their very eyes. Furthermore, Sullivan adds, she speaks Mandarin, Cantonese, and Korean fluently, which makes her exceptionally qualified for this specific mission. Commander Perez raises his, "Excuse me, Admiral, but isn't the lieutenant a little out of shape for a field operation? I mean, she's been serving coffee for the last 2 years?" I smile inwardly. If only he knew about the early morning training sessions, or the combat exercises I practice at night when everyone thinks I'm at home watching Netflix. Commander Sullivan replied with a slight smile, "I suggest you don't underestimate Lieutenant Cooper. She maintained her full training regimen throughout the entire cover mission. I confirm that I am in full operational condition, sir," I say, addressing Perez. I hold up-to-date certifications in combat diving, Halo parachute, and CQB. Perez seems appropriately embarrassed. Sullivan regains control of the meeting. "Gentlemen, the original plan needs to be adjusted. Lieutenant Cooper will lead an infiltration team to neutralize the vessel's defense systems before the main approach. We need to discuss the detail. The next 20 minutes are surreal. After 2 years of silently serving coffee, I'm now at the center of the brief, explaining infiltration tactics, pointing out vulnerabilities in the target's defense systems, suggesting team compositions. The same room where I was invisible for so long is now listening intently to my every word. When the briefing ends, Sullivan calls me aside for a private conversation in a corner of the room, while the other officers still casting curious glances at me. "Sorry for burning your cover, Lieutenant," he says quietly, "but the situation demands your real skills right now." "I understand, sir. The mission always comes first," Sullivan nods. "We found the source of the leaks, by the way. A civilian employee in the communications department. He was neutralized last week." I sighed with relief. "So my counterintelligence mission is officially complete." "Yes, and successful. Now I need you in the field where your talents will be best utilized." He pauses. "Do you think Commander Perez will get over the fact that the coffee girl is going to lead an elite operation?" I can't help but smile slightly. "He'll have to get over it, sir." When we left the briefing room, I found Lieutenant David Chun waiting in the hallway. He seemed confused to see Sullivan treating me like an officer and not like an administrative employee. "Lieutenant Chun," says Sullivan, "accompany Lieutenant Cooper to the Special Operations Department. She needs full access to the mission file." Chun looks at me, then at Sullivan, clearly perplexed. "Lieutenant Cooper?" "Long story, Chun," I reply, feeling a strange freedom at finally being able to speak like a military officer. Let's just say I was promoted from the coffee service. As we walk down the hallway, I notice officers watching me with renewed curiosity. Some seem embarrassed, probably remembering how they treated or ignored me during my 2 years as the coffee girl. "So, all this time, double quotes, Chun begins." "Yes," I reply, adjusting my posture. It's strange to finally be able to walk like a trained soldier instead of trying to look harmless. "All this time." "Wow," Chun murmurs. "Phoenix, huh? I've heard stories. I thought it was a male operative. That was the goal." Chun whistles softly. "People are going to freak out when they find out." "You're about to discover much more," I reply, thinking about the mission ahead. "Much more indeed." In the Special Operations room, I find a team being hastily assembled. Some faces are familiar, others new. They all look at me with a mixture of curiosity and skepticism as I enter. Captain Torres, who has seen me serve coffee at least 30 briefs, makes a face that almost makes me laugh. "Cooper, you're the expert we've been waiting for." "Surprise," I reply curtly, taking the tablet that is offered to me and beginning to review the mission files. "Is this some kind of joke?" Torres asks Sullivan, who followed us into the room. "Captain, I suggest you Lieutenant Cooper with the same respect you would treat any other elite operative," Sullivan replied firmly. She wasn't serving coffee for fun. It was a high-level counterintelligence mission. Torres swallows hard and composes himself. "Yes, sir." "Excuse me, Lieutenant." I nod briefly, focused on the mission date. "We need a silent insertion. I suggest a submerged approach followed by climbing the hull." "In contested international waters?" asks a lieutenant I don't know. "What if we're detected by the Chinese?" "That's why we'll go as a small, agile unit," I reply, accessing satellite images on the system. 4 operators. Minimal equipment, night approach. Over the next few hours, I transform completely. I trade my administrative uniform for tactical combat gear. My hair, which I always kept meticulously styled, is now tied up in a functional military bun. I inspect my weapons with the efficiency of someone who has never stopped training, despite the cover. I look at my reflection in the glass of the equipment room and barely recognize the woman I've been staring at in the mirror for 2 years. That was Riley Cooper, the shy administrative assistant who served coffee. This is me, Lieutenant Riley Phoenix Cooper, a Navy Special Forces operative. As the team prepares for the final briefing, Sullivan pulls me aside again. "Do you know why I chose Phoenix as your call sign, Cooper?" he asks. "I imagine it's due to the mythological bird's ability to rise from the ashes, sir," Sullivan smiled. "Partially, but mainly because, like the phoenix, you have the gift of transformation, of adapting, of being. Whatever the mission demands," I nod, understanding the weight of your words. "Thank you for your trust, sir. You won her over," he replies. "Now go lead your team. Show them what the coffee girl can really do." I walk into the final briefing room with a confidence I haven't had to pretend to hide for 2 years. The team stands, not because of my former role, but out of respect for my rank and position as mission leader. "Ladies and gentlemen," I begin, savoring the bitter taste of irony. "Allow me to present the operational plan for Mission Firebird." As I explain the details, I see the skeptical looks gradually transform into professional respect. I am no longer invisible. I am no longer underestimated. I am an elite operative ready to lead a crucial mission. And to think that everything changed in an instant when an admiral said my call sign and everyone froze. Commander Perez, seated at the back of the room, observes me with a complex expression. When our eyes meet, raises his mug in a silent toast. I return the gesture with a small nod. The girl from the coffee shop has just earned a new level of respect, and this is just the beginning.